If this video crossed your path right now, it's not random. Something subtle is already shifting behind the curtain of your life, long before you pressed play. Call it timing, call it intuition, call it the quiet pull of the quantum field, but it isn't coincidence. And before you scroll away, let me be straight with you. Stopping here would mean ignoring a signal your deeper self has been trying to send for a while. There's a pattern, a kind of invisible roadmap that shows up when consciousness is ready to move. I didn't create it. I didn't name it. It's simply woven into how awareness grows, how identity stretches, how reality reshapes itself when something inside you wakes up and refuses to go back to sleep. Right now, as these words land, something in you is turning on. You might not describe it as energy or electricity, but you'll feel a tiny shift, a soft pull, a quiet alertness, a sense that this moment matters more than it should. And no, that's not imagination. It's recognition. Your field responds when it hears something aligned with it. It's like a tuning fork vibrating the moment it's struck by the right frequency. Ancient traditions tried to describe this in their own ways. Tibetan teachers talked about the instant where a single sentence snaps a person into clarity. Zen masters hinted at awakenings that happen outside logic. Mystics in many traditions spoke of a kind of inner doorway that opens only when everything false begins to fall apart. Modern science has its own language for the same thing. Physicists call it a cascade, the point where a system reaches a threshold and reorganizes itself instantly rather than gradually. You don't crawl into a new level of consciousness. You jump. Something triggers the jump, and moments like this are often the trigger. Now here's what most people don't realize. Once the process begins, you can't unhear the truth. You can walk away from the video, sure. You can distract yourself, explain it away, argue with it. But deep down, a part of you has already touched something real. And once you've seen what's possible, pretending you haven't gets heavier and heavier. This is why the title warned you not to stop watching. Not to hook you, but because your energy recognized the signal before your mind did. Something important is coming. Something that will finally make sense of the moments in your life that felt chaotic, random, delayed, perfectly timed, or strangely meaningful. So take a breath, not a rushed inhale, a real one. Let it drop into the places that have been tight, confused, searching for a sign that this inner work is worth it. Let that breath feel like the universe nudging you gently. Yes, you're in the right place. Stay with this. Can you sense it? That slight softening in your awareness. That widening of a door you didn't know you'd closed. That quiet opening inside you that feels strangely familiar. That's the beginning. The activation. The first ripple of the shift that's already moving through your field. What I'm about to explain doesn't come from textbooks or traditions, though they've all pointed at it from different angles. It comes from watching countless people hit this moment, from seeing the same pattern unfold again and again, from learning how awareness steps across thresholds you don't even know you're standing on. You didn't land here by chance. This video crossed your timeline at the exact moment your field was ready to rise into a new level of coherence, a different bandwidth of possibility. Everything that unfolds from here is part of that shift. You've felt things recently that you haven't been able to name. Strange moments, flashes of clarity, a sense of something is changing that vanishes as quickly as it appears. Experiences that feel more real than daily life, but don't fit into the logic you were taught. That's you brushing up against the next layer of your own consciousness, a glimpse of what's waiting on the other side of your current perception. Maybe you've noticed your life nudging you in strange little ways, like waking up at odd hours, 3:33, 4:44, numbers that land with weight even though part of you insists they're meaningless. But the moment you see them, something inside you leans forward, as if those numbers are tapping on the door of your awareness. Or maybe your dreams have shifted. Not the random ones, the other kind. The ones that feel like messages from a timeline you don't have language for yet. Dreams that feel like they belong to another version of you running parallel to this one. And then there's that intense déjà vu, the kind that stops you mid-step. Moments so sharp and precise they feel like reality briefly folded over itself and let you peek through the crack. Your synchronicities, they've probably multiplied too. Not the cute, occasional coincidences, but the ones that are almost eerie in their accuracy. You think of someone, and they text. You ask a silent question, and a line from a song answers it. You overhear a stranger say the exact sentence that's been circling in your mind. That's not luck. That's your field waking up, noticing that reality bends a lot easier than you were raised to believe. And beneath all of this, there's that pull, not a goal, not a dream, a calling, the quiet ache of something trying to move through you, something that feels bigger than your personality, bigger than your plans, bigger than what you can logically name. Every time you try to label it, it slips away. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because what's emerging isn't supposed to be held by the mind. It's something your being recognizes long before your thoughts can catch up. And then we get to the uncomfortable part, the part nobody warns you about. Certain relationships suddenly feel too tight. Situations that used to be fine now feel suffocating. Places that once felt safe now feel like cages you've outgrown. This isn't you becoming moody. It's your awareness expanding faster than your environment. It's the same way a snake feels when its old skin stops stretching. The irritation isn't the problem. It's the signal. Even your body has been speaking to you. Strange waves of pressure at the top of your head. A sensation between your brows that feels like someone switched on an invisible light. Energy running up and down your spine when nothing is happening around you. Sleep patterns changing. Appetite shifting. Your energy coming in unpredictable bursts. In modern terms, these would be called symptoms. In ancient systems, they were called openings. Your physical body is learning how to hold more consciousness than it used to. Everything you've been labeling as restlessness, impatience, confusion, none of it is a mistake. This is the early stage of the shift, the rearranging before the breakthrough, the dissolving before the becoming. But here's the part most people misunderstand. You're not supposed to fix this stage. You're not supposed to rush it. You're not supposed to force clarity. This is the unwinding, the gentle undoing of the person you thought you had to be so the person you actually are can breathe. The old alchemists had a name for this phase, the blackening, not darkness as punishment, darkness as preparation, the breakdown that makes space for transformation. They understood that gold isn't created by polishing lead. The lead has to be melted, reduced to its raw essence before it can become anything new. Right now, you're in that melting. Same essence, new form. The fire you're feeling is what makes the shift possible. So stop trying to solve this with logic. Your mind is part of the layer that's loosening. Let your being take it in. Let your cells do the remembering. Let the unconscious parts of you rearrange themselves without your interference. Every tradition, whether it's mystical, spiritual, or scientific, hints at the same thing. There's a structure to awakening, not a path you learn, but a pattern that unfolds through you. It's like the hidden scaffolding beneath a cathedral. You don't see it, but it holds everything in place while new forms are being built. Ancient Vedic teachings mapped these transitions through the energy centers, not as floating concepts, but as actual stages of development, each one opening only when the previous one is ready. Root into stability, sacral into creativity, solar into identity, heart into expansion, throat into expression, brow into sight, crown into the infinite. And the secret they reserved for those who were truly ready? You don't force these openings. You don't earn them. They unfold the moment your field stops resisting what it already knows. In Buddhist language, the shift is described differently. Step by step, awareness drops old identities, each time landing in a deeper layer of truth. Between each leap, there's that strange in-between state where you're not the old version anymore, but the new version hasn't fully arrived. That's where you are right now. The doorway, the hallway between two worlds. You're standing in that in-between place right now. Even if you don't have the words for it, even if you can't explain it, something in your old identity is already cracking, and something new is quietly waking up beneath it. This transitional space, this threshold, is the bridge between who you've been and who you're becoming. People throughout history understood this space better than we do now. The Christian mystics, for example, spoke about it like explorers documenting a hidden landscape. They described the dark night not as sadness, but as a sacred emptiness that clears the way for a deeper connection. They wrote about an inner journey with rooms, chambers, sanctuaries, each one drawing the soul closer to its true essence. Transformation doesn't happen in the light. It happens underground, in the quiet, in the unseen layers of the self that don't get talked about at the surface level of your life. And now modern science, of all things, is catching up with what mystics sensed intuitively. Neuroscientists studying advanced meditators have observed something strange. Parts of the brain responsible for keeping you separate, the me versus the world machinery, temporarily go offline. At the same time, entirely different networks flare up, creating a state of awareness where everything feels interconnected. This dissolving of boundaries isn't metaphorical, it's measurable, it's physical. And it mirrors exactly what starts happening when someone enters a deeper stage of awakening. That's what's happening inside you. Your brain is rewiring. Your nervous system is learning a new rhythm. Your perception is being reorganized from the foundation up. Not because you're broken, because you're finally ready to expand. Here's the part people resist. This process has its own intelligence. It moves according to a rhythm older than your mind, wiser than your plans, and more precise than anything you can strategize. Trying to control it is like trying to manage how your liver detoxes or how your heart beats. You can support it, yes, but you cannot force the pace. The key is letting go, trust, allowing the process to move through you instead of wrestling with it. Let me tell you something personal. A few years ago, I hit a point where everything in my life stopped making sense at the same time. It was like the ground underneath every part of my identity vanished. The career I'd poured my energy into felt meaningless. A relationship that looked perfect from the outside felt like a tight room with no windows. Even the beliefs I leaned on for stability started feeling artificial. I remember sitting alone in a grocery store parking lot, not crying from sadness, but because something inside me was collapsing. The strategies I'd used for years to stay functional, positive thinking, goal-chasing, spiritual routines, all suddenly felt hollow, like I was reciting lines from a script that wasn't mine. And when everything inside me finally went quiet, something unexpected surfaced. Silence, stillness, a sense of surrender I'd never experienced. No epiphany, no angelic choir, just an internal falling away. A moment where I stopped trying to fix my life and simply let myself not know. And out of that quiet, something rose, not in words, but in a kind of inner certainty. Let go of the version of yourself you've been protecting. Something larger wants to come through. I didn't understand it then, but that was the doorway, the beginning of what I now call the sequence. As the months unfolded, the pattern became obvious. The job I lost made room for work that finally fit my soul. The relationship that ended opened the space for someone aligned with my truth. The health scare forced me to listen to my body instead of overriding it. The financial difficulties pushed me to rely on inner guidance instead of fear. None of these events were accidents. Every piece that fell apart was removed to make space for something that matched the person I was becoming. It was like watching a caterpillar dissolve inside its cocoon, not dying, just reorganizing into a completely different form. Every awakening follows a similar order. First comes the discomfort, a soul that's outgrown its container. Then comes the unraveling. Old roles, habits, and illusions fall away faster than you can replace them. Then comes the void, the quiet, the uncertainty, the unfamiliar space where nothing feels stable. And then, the emergence, the new identity, the clearer voice, the aligned direction, the version of you that feels like home. But here's the truth people avoid. You cannot skip the uncomfortable parts. You cannot speed through transformation. You cannot rush a metamorphosis by ripping open the cocoon. The process has to complete itself. Your only job is to stop gripping the old long enough for the new to find you. If this video is reaching you right now, you're already somewhere in that cycle. Maybe in the falling apart phase, maybe in the quiet middle, maybe on the edge of emerging. Wherever you are, the question isn't, how do I force this forward? The question is, will you resist the shift or surrender to it? Because once you understand how this sequence works, once you see the deeper structure beneath it, even the hardest parts start to make sense. And that brings us to one of the core principles behind transformation. A principle quantum physics has been hinting at for decades. Multiple versions of your future already exist, waiting for your consciousness to choose which one you step into. Before anything in your life shifts, something quieter shifts inside you. It's subtle at first, like noticing your breath instead of being carried by it. You begin seeing your patterns instead of acting them out on autopilot. You catch a familiar thought rising, and instead of believing it blindly, you watch it float by like weather. That's the first crack in the old identity. Not because you forced anything, but because awareness has changed the way you observe reality. And observation is everything. The moment you look at yourself through a different lens, the field collapses a different possibility for you. You're not manipulating the quantum field. You're tuning the instrument that interprets it. Principle 2, resonance. The frequency you broadcast. Every emotion, fear, gratitude, shame, confidence, is a frequency, not poetry, not metaphor. Actual electromagnetic signals moving through your nervous system and into the field around you. So when your life starts shaking a bit during a transformation, it's not chaos. It's old frequencies rising up so they can finally leave. You're not getting more emotional. You're becoming aware of emotions that have been steering your life from the shadows. And once those old vibrations empty out, the space they leave gets filled with something new. Trust, calm, a sense of abundance that isn't forced with affirmations. It's felt in the body like truth. You become a tuning fork for a different reality. Principle 3. Coherence, alignment that organizes reality. When what you think, what you feel, and what you do stop fighting each other, something remarkable happens. Energy becomes organized. Synchronicities increase. Doors open that weren't even visible before. The quantum sequence isn't punishing you. It's teaching you coherence by showing you every place you're out of alignment, where your words don't match your behavior, where your intentions clash with your emotions, where fear is pretending to be ambition, and it keeps nudging you until you choose. Stay fragmented and struggle, or align and evolve. Ancient traditions already knew this. They didn't call it quantum mechanics, but the mechanics were the same. Mindfulness trains the observer. Breathwork trains the emotional frequency. Integrity trains coherence. Different languages, same truth. Principle 4. Surrender, the one almost everyone skips, not giving up. Not becoming passive, but releasing the illusion that you're the one micromanaging the blueprint of your life. There's an intelligence running this sequence that is far older, wiser, and more precise than your conscious mind. Your job isn't to predict every outcome. It's to stay awake enough to respond to what arrives. When you stop wrestling with the process, transformation accelerates. Not because you suddenly work harder, but because you stopped blocking what was trying to unfold. Right now, notice yourself. Your awareness is different from a few minutes ago. It's sharper, quieter, more tuned in. There's a subtle yes somewhere in your chest or gut, a recognition you can't explain. That's resonance. That's your system responding to truth. And when that happens, confirmations begin to stack. Confirmation. 1. Resonance. Your whole body says, "This matters." There's a difference between hearing words and recognizing yourself in them. That recognition is proof the sequence is active. Confirmation. 2. Synchronicity. Reality becomes strangely precise. A message arrives at the perfect second. Someone says exactly what you needed to hear. Money shows up from nowhere. A solution appears before the problem fully forms. Not magic. Higher frequency causality. The field reorganizing itself around your new vibration. Confirmation. 3. Quantum memory, glimpses from outside linear time. Moments that feel like I've already lived this, or I saw this in a dream, or some part of me knew this was coming. Not déjà vu, more like your future self gently leaving breadcrumbs for you to follow. Time becomes less like a straight line and more like an ocean with waves that overlap. Confirmation. 4. Relationship shifts. The frequency mismatch becomes visible. People who matched your old vibrations start fading out. Not out of drama, not out of blame, just because you're no longer operating from the same emotional wavelength. And new people, aligned people, start appearing with almost eerie timing. And as your frequency shifts, something else shifts too. The people around you. The ones who matched your old wavelength start drifting to the edges of your life, sometimes quietly, sometimes abruptly. And at the same time, new faces begin stepping in. People who feel strangely familiar, who get you without explanation, who match the energy you're growing into rather than the one you're shedding. It's beautiful, but it isn't painless. Losing people hurts, even when the loss is aligned, even when it frees you, even when some part of you knows it's necessary. The sequence doesn't negotiate. Its only loyalty is to your evolution. So anything that can't travel with the next version of you eventually falls away. And yes, that can mean loneliness, grief, or standing in empty spaces you never wanted to stand in. But these empty spaces are doorways, not punishments. The fifth confirmation shows up in your body. Your physical system starts operating like a finely tuned radio. Foods you once ate without thinking suddenly feel heavy or toxic. Crowded rooms that used to be normal feel dense. Your tolerance for certain people, places, and conversations collapses overnight. You're not overreacting. Your nervous system is upgrading. And anything vibrating beneath your new frequency feels like static, loud, irritating, unignorable. Your body always knows before your mind does. Listen to it. Let it lead. Those signals aren't random discomfort. They're guidance. They're your field saying, this is aligned, this is not. Trust those sensations more than the logical arguments trying to convince you to stay where your soul has already outgrown. And then there's the sixth confirmation, the quiet one. You're here, right now. Hearing these words at the exact moment you were meant to hear them. The video didn't find you by accident. You didn't stay this long because you were bored. Something in you recognized a truth you didn't have language for. That recognition is the sequence tapping you on the shoulder. Every quantum transformation reaches a pivot point. It's not a dramatic movie moment. It's subtle, almost silent. A turning of the inner tide where you realize you can't go backward into the old version of yourself. But going forward feels like stepping into fog. The Greeks called this moment kairos, the instant where time stretches, choice becomes sacred, and the smallest decision alters the rest of your life. It's not about hours or dates. It's about readiness, alignment, a shift in the center of your being that whispers, you can't keep living the way you've been living. Sometimes that moment arrives wrapped in big decisions. Should you leave? Should you stay? Should you move? Should you begin again? But underneath those practical questions is the real one. Are you willing to let the old identity die? Are you willing to stop fighting the current that's carrying you toward who you actually are? Here's the truth most people never understand. The fear that appears at this threshold isn't a warning. It's a reflex. It's the last move of an identity that knows its time is ending, the final contraction before release. Fear shows up not because you're on the wrong path, but because you're standing at the doorway of real change. It's the sign that you're exactly where you're meant to be. If you weren't standing on the edge of a major shift, this level of fear wouldn't be pulsing through you. This kind of fear only shows up when something in you is about to expand beyond the version you've been clinging to. Mystics have been describing this moment for centuries. John of the Cross called it the strange paradox of awakening, the path where you loosen your grip on every comfort you once used to feel safe, so that something larger can take its place. The Buddhists said it differently. Suffering comes from gripping what was never meant to stay. Different languages, same truth. The moment before a breakthrough always feels like standing on a cliff with fog covering the next step. And here's the twist no one expects. The fear of letting go is always louder than the letting go itself. I learned that during my own unraveling, that night when my life collapsed so suddenly it didn't feel real. The dread was worse than the fall. The stories in my head hurt more than the reality. And when I finally surrendered, I didn't fall into emptiness. I fell into support I didn't know existed. It felt like the universe stepped forward the moment I stopped bracing myself. Opportunities I couldn't have planned started aligning. People showed up at the exact second I needed them. Resources appeared without me pushing or forcing or performing, not because I became special, because I stopped resisting, because I let the sequence guide me instead of trying to micromanage every inch of my life. But you don't see any of this until you cross the threshold. You can't see it from the side you're standing on. There's always a moment where the only way forward is trust. Not blind trust, but the quiet, grounded kind that comes from knowing your old truth can't carry you anymore. And once you cross, everything begins shifting in ways that feel almost unreal. Life stops feeling like a wrestling match. Not because challenges disappear, but because you're not wasting your energy pushing against the flow. You're not chasing outcomes, overthinking decisions, or forcing anything to happen. Taoists call this state Wu Wei, the art of acting without struggle. You move, but without tension. You decide, but without fear. You respond to life instead of trying to control it. It feels like going from swimming upstream to letting the river carry you while you steer. Your approach to manifestation flips completely. Before, you were creating from emptiness, trying to fill a hole, trying to fix something inside you. After the threshold, creation feels like expression instead of survival. You're not attracting from lack anymore. You're broadcasting from alignment. And the quantum field responds fast, scary fast. Sometimes the thing you wanted shows up before you can even articulate the desire clearly. It's as if reality is finally allowed to cooperate with you once you stop contradicting your own intentions. Your relationships evolve too. People who belong in your new reality rise with you. People who don't drift away on their own. No drama, no villain, just frequency sorting itself out. And then the new souls arrive. People who recognize the real you, who meet you at the level you're stepping into, who don't need you to shrink to make them comfortable. These are the relationships that grow you, stretch you, inspire you. They're not threatened by your expansion. They're nourished by it. Your health shifts in ways you didn't expect, not because of supplements or hacks, but because your system is no longer operating in a constant state of conflict. When you stop living against yourself, your body follows. It relaxes. It recalibrates. Symptoms that once felt mysterious begin to release. Those strange fatigue waves, the pressure in your chest, the sleep issues, they were never random. They were the body adjusting to a higher internal order. As coherence returns, your physical state stabilizes. You start to feel like your body finally belongs to you again. And the most profound shift happens quietly inside you. The self-criticism softens. The harsh inner monologue loses its power. The need to prove, to perform, to earn your worth dissolves. You begin relating to yourself with a gentleness you didn't think was possible. Not because you became perfect, but because you finally see the truth underneath all the conditioning. You were never broken. You were never behind. You were never incomplete. You were simply remembering who you've always been. Love stops being something you chase or perform. It becomes the frequency you operate from, the natural state of your consciousness when the noise is cleared. From that place, everything transforms, not through effort, but through resonance. Here's the part nobody really talks about. Once you cross that inner threshold and step into a new frequency, you don't get to go back. Not because you're physically unable to return to old habits, you could, but because your mind can't unlearn what it now knows. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't unfeel what you've felt. It's like trying to believe in Santa again after you've figured out the truth, or trying to see a meaningless pattern after your brain has already recognized the face hidden inside. Once the illusion breaks, you can't pretend it's still whole. That's what makes this shift permanent. Not circumstances, not consequences, recognition. Once truth clicks in at that level, maintaining the old perspective becomes impossible. You've tasted what's underneath the surface, and that changes the way you experience everything above it. The ancient mystery schools understood this. Their initiations were designed to be irreversible. Once you stepped through, once certain realizations settled into your consciousness, you couldn't return to unconscious living even if you tried. They guarded these teachings because they knew an unprepared mind can find sudden awakening destabilizing instead of liberating. But if you've stayed with this message until now, if something in you is resonating instead of resisting, you're ready. The sequence you've been moving through has been preparing you for this moment all along. And here's the shift: the recognition that you are not the limited character you've been identifying with. You're not just the personality shaped by family, culture, trauma, or praise. You're not just a body or a mind. You are the consciousness noticing all of it. You are the field expressing itself as a human life. This isn't theory. This isn't wishful thinking. This is direct experience that lands so deeply you can't ignore it once it arrives. And when it does, everything changes. Fear still comes, but it no longer rules you. Because the part of you that's afraid isn't the part of you that's eternal. Desire still exists, but it stops coming from emptiness and starts coming from overflow. Relationships stop being performances and become real, because you're no longer meeting people from a mask. You're meeting them from presence. Life doesn't stop being life. You'll still have challenges, confusion, old patterns that momentarily pull you back. But underneath all of that burns a steady recognition that never fully disappears. Even when you forget, you're forgetting something you already know. And forgetting eventually becomes just another reminder that the knowing is always there. Everything you've heard so far is just a bridge. Words can only take you so close. At some point, the message stops being information and turns into an invitation. So pause for a moment. If you can, close your eyes. If not, just let your focus soften. Feel your body, not the idea of it, the actual sensations. The weight on the chair, the breath rising and falling, the quiet pulse of life moving underneath everything. Now notice the awareness that's noticing all this. Not the thoughts, not the emotions, the awareness itself, the part of you that's simply here, watching. That presence. What is it? Where is it? Who is it? Don't try to answer. Just rest in the question. Because that awareness, that quiet, spacious, unchanging presence, is what the entire sequence has been guiding you toward. It's your real nature, the ground beneath every experience, the constant behind every version of you. And right now, without effort, without force, Something inside you is recognizing itself. You're standing in that strange in-between space right now. Whether you've named it or not, the old version of you is fading out, and something entirely new is taking shape. It's that quiet doorway between who you've been and who you're becoming. Christian mystics understood this space better than most. St. John of the Cross called it the dark night of the soul. Not a depressive episode, but a sacred passage. Teresa of Avila described the soul as a castle with many inner chambers, each one leading you deeper into yourself. They knew transformation happens where things feel murky, uncertain, and unlit. And interestingly, modern neuroscience is starting to catch up with what these mystics discovered centuries ago. Dr. Andrew Newberg's work shows that during deep states of meditation or prayer, parts of the brain that keep your sense of me intact actually shut down. The boundaries you think are solid, between self and other, inner and outer, start dissolving at the neurological level. Your brain rewires. Your nervous system recalibrates. Your sense of reality reorganizes itself from the inside out. Not because something's malfunctioning, but because something in you has finally become ready for a bigger level of consciousness. This entire process has its own intelligence. It knows where you're stuck, what needs to fall apart first, what attachments you're still gripping, and how fast you can handle change. Trying to control it is like trying to manually regulate your heartbeat. You can support it or resist it, but you can't command it. The only real doorway is surrender, trusting that this inner intelligence is guiding the process faster and more precisely than your mind ever could. 4 years ago, I hit my own inner cliff. Not physically, a metaphorical one. Everything I had built felt hollow. My relationship looked fine on the outside, but suffocated me on the inside. My identity was crumbling, and I couldn't pretend to hold it together anymore. I remember sitting in my car outside a grocery store, feeling like every internal system was failing. It wasn't a breakdown, it was a breakthrough wearing the costume of collapse. None of my usual coping mechanisms worked anymore. Positive thinking felt fake. Vision boards felt childish. Even my spiritual routines felt like another attempt to keep control. And in the middle of all that, nothing happened. And somehow that nothing changed everything. I stopped fighting. I stopped managing. I stopped trying to fix myself into a better version. I dropped into a silence so deep it felt like falling. And in that silence, something spoke. Not through words, but through presence. It said, "Let go of who you think you are. You're being called somewhere your mind can't imagine. Trust the sequence." After that moment, things didn't magically get easy. They dismantled. My job ended right when I needed space. My relationship dissolved right when I was finally ready to meet someone aligned with who I actually was. My health forced me to listen. My finances forced me to trust. Looking back, it was all orchestrated with impossible precision. None of it was random. It was the sequence pulling me out of my old identity and into something real. Every sequence moves in stages, just like a caterpillar dissolving into mush before becoming a butterfly. First comes the dissatisfaction, the sense that your life no longer fits. Then comes the dismantling, where old structures collapse faster than you can rebuild. Then comes the void, where nothing makes sense and everything is quiet. And finally, emergence. You can't push or skip these stages. You can only respect them, move through them, and trust the intelligence behind them. Before the sequence starts, you're observing reality through your conditioning, collapsing the same narrow possibilities again and again. But when the sequence activates, you gain just enough awareness to see the pattern instead of being trapped in it. That awareness is what opens the door to new outcomes. Everything operates on resonance. Your emotions are frequencies broadcasting into the field, and the field echoes them back. That's why emotional turmoil often comes first. Old energy needs to surface so something new can settle in. Fear rises, then trust. Tension rises, then peace. Lack rises, then abundance. Not because you think positive, but because your actual frequency shifts. As coherence grows, when your thoughts, emotions, and actions stop fighting each other, life responds. Synchronicities sharpen. Randomness rearranges into meaning. Outcomes that looked impossible start unfolding without strain, and every moment of resistance becomes a mirror. Stay misaligned and suffer, or align and move. Eventually, you reach a quiet turning point, a moment that looks ordinary from the outside, but feels monumental inside. Do you stay in the discomfort you know, or step into the possibility you don't? The Greeks called this kairos, the moment where time feels deeper than time. The fear you feel right then isn't danger. It's ego dissolving. It's the last grip of your old self. And here's the irony. The fear of letting go always feels worse than the letting go itself. The moment you release control, you don't fall into emptiness. You fall into support. Life meets you. Opportunities appear quicker than you can plan them. People align with your frequency. The flow becomes effortless, not because everything turns easy, but because you stop swimming against your own current. Relationships shift too. Some people leave quietly, others rise to meet you, and entirely new connections appear. People who see you clearly because you're finally seeing yourself. Your body stabilizes as old emotional tension dissolves. Your health improves because you're no longer carrying the weight of pretending. And then comes the deepest shift of all. The relationship with yourself changes. The self-criticism loosens. The need to prove yourself dissolves. You recognize the thing mystics were always pointing to. Love isn't something you become. It's something you've always been underneath the noise. Once this sequence completes, there's no returning to the old you. Not because you couldn't force yourself back, but because pretending would feel like wearing clothing 2 sizes too small. Mystics protected these initiations because once awareness opens, it doesn't close. If this message resonates with you, it's because the sequence has already begun in your life. You're not who you used to be, and you're not meant to be. Feel your body right now. Feel your breath. Notice the awareness watching all of this. That awareness isn't a character in your story. It's the field in which the story unfolds. It's the presence behind the thoughts, the silence behind the words, the light behind the changes. This is what the sequence has been guiding you toward. The recognition of your own consciousness. Nothing in this video is happening to you from the outside. It's happening in you, through you, as you. The sequence didn't just activate, it's unfolding. And the moment you fully recognize what you truly are, the transformation stops being a process and becomes your natural state. This isn't the end of anything. It's the beginning disguised as one. You're in that space now, the threshold between death and rebirth of your old self. The old version of you is dissolving. The new one is being born. Mystics called it the dark night, the interior castle, the sacred passage. It's the place where transformation isn't on the surface. It's in the depth, in the unknowing. in the darkness where your conditioned self has no control. Your brain and nervous system are changing with it. Neuroscience shows that during profound spiritual states, parts of the brain that maintain the ego shut down, dissolving the boundary between self and other, inner and outer, observer and observed. Your perception is reorganizing from the inside out, not because anything is broken, but because something in you is ready for a larger, deeper way of being. The sequence has intelligence. It knows what attachments must dissolve first, what patterns need release, the exact timing of events to move you forward. Trying to control it is like trying to manually command your heartbeat. You can support it, you can hinder it, but you can't make it happen through willpower. The doorway is surrender, the quiet trust that life is moving through you with precision beyond what your mind could ever plan. There was a moment in my life that taught me this. 4 years ago, everything I had built felt hollow. My identity, my career, my relationships, they all began to crumble. I remember sitting in my car, feeling a complete system failure. Nothing worked anymore. All the tricks, all the strategies, all the control dissolved. And in that stillness, in that nothing, I finally heard it. Not with ears, but with awareness. Let go of who you think you are. Trust the sequence. The months that followed were a dismantling and a recalibration. Jobs, relationships, finances, health, everything realigned in ways that made no sense to my limited mind, but perfectly aligned with the sequence. Nothing was punishment, nothing was random. Everything was precisely orchestrated to move me from trying to control life to allowing life to move through me. The sequence moves in stages, like a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. First comes dissatisfaction, the sense that your container no longer fits. Then dismantling, where old structures collapse faster than new ones form. Then the void, where uncertainty becomes the only certainty. Finally, emergence, the authentic self moving into manifestation. No stage can be skipped. You can only surrender to each, trusting the intelligence orchestrating it. Before the sequence triggers, you unconsciously observe reality through habitual patterns, collapsing the same possibilities repeatedly. Once triggered, you start witnessing those patterns instead of being lost in them. You notice thoughts instead of believing them automatically. You recognize old stories as stories. That shift opens you to new possibilities. You're not changing the quantum field. You're shifting what aspect of it you allow into manifestation through your awareness. Everything vibrates. Your emotions are frequencies projecting into the field, and the field responds. Old emotions surface, demand attention, and dissolve. Fear becomes trust. Lack becomes abundance. Anxiety becomes peace, not through effortful thinking, but through a genuine shift in frequency. Coherence is next. When thoughts, emotions, and actions align, energy becomes coherent, bringing order to chaos, synchronicity to randomness. Every mismatch in your inner and outer life becomes a catalyst. Stay incoherent and suffer, or align and thrive. Then comes surrender. Not resignation, but trust. The sequence is guided by intelligence beyond your conscious mind. Your role is to feel, show up, and allow it to move through you. Resistance slows you. Allowance accelerates you. You notice confirmations. Awareness shifts. Synchronicities increase in precision. Relationships realign, and your physical sensitivity heightens. Foods, environments, and situations recalibrate. These aren't coincidences. They are signals, the field guiding and supporting your transformation. The threshold moment is quiet but pivotal. Do you stay in the comfort of the familiar or step into the unknown of who you're becoming? Fear rises. That's the ego resisting. But letting go is always easier than anticipating the loss. When you surrender, you don't fall into nothing. You fall into everything. Doors open, opportunities appear, resources align, and life becomes effortless. Not because it's easy, but because you no longer resist the current of what is. Relationships transform. Misaligned people drift away. Aligned ones arrive. Health stabilizes, conflicts dissolve, and your nervous system recalibrates. You begin to love from wholeness, give from abundance, and relate authentically. The fundamental truth the mystics always pointed to becomes tangible. Unconditional love begins within. Once the sequence completes, there's no going back. You can't unsee what you now recognize. The old self is impossible to maintain. Ancient initiations were safeguarded because certain experiences create permanent shifts in consciousness. If these words resonate, it's because your sequence has already begun. You're no longer who you were, and you don't need to be. Feel your body, feel your breath. Notice the awareness watching all of it. That awareness is your true nature, the unchanging field in which all experience arises. The sequence isn't about words, concepts, or me. It's about your awareness recognizing itself. It expands as you stabilize in this new recognition. You are not observing from the outside. You are the awareness in which everything appears. Video, words, understanding, transformation. They all arise through you, as you, in you. The sequence triggered the moment you clicked. It's not ending. It's just beginning. Endings and beginnings, death and birth, the old and the new, they are one. You are that one consciousness, appearing as transformation, sequence, and awakening.